Hello, I am Ronald with Indicator Vault, and in this video we're going to go over the Pullback Factor Indicator. And here I've got the settings pulled up. It's relatively simple. It's just the color of a line down here. You've got the levels. The main level you want to have on the pullback factor is 1.5, which is marked out here with this line. And that's essentially it. And so what this does is, every trend, if we look at price here, we've got the euro to British pound daily chart. And we can see in this price action, we're in a downtrend, right? So we've got a low here that gets violated here to create a lower low. Price retraces or pulls back, drops again to create another lower low in comparison to this one. Price does the same thing, retraces up, makes another lower low, and then we see it again here. I mean, that's what price does. Price does not just drop in, just one straight aggressive line. It has its ebbs and flows, its retracements, its pullbacks. And so what this indicator does is basically telling us when a pullback is basically at its peak, at where it's going to reach its maximum retracement. And that's what this 1.5 line is for. So if we're going to trade with the trend, and we are looking for sells in this, fractal of price action here on the daily chart, we want to know, we know to take sells, but we also want to know, when is the right time to get into the next sell? We're expecting it to retrace. So when will that retracement end? And so this indicator here is great to give us a gauge of when that retracement is at its peak. And so in a downtrend, you want to wait for the indicator to go above the 1.5. You can see here as I hover over it right here with this candle, it's right at 1.7. And so when it's reaching over the 1.5, it is telling us, okay, its price is now exhausting itself. It's about to continue lower, right? And so just simple, other tools to look for sells. We're on the daily chart. We could, refine more into the 4 hour and the 1 hour would certainly give other refining entry points. But just a simple, fib. So we start with, the candle that matches up with the pullback factor over 1.5. It was this candle as well, but we need to wait for other confirmations that match up in line. So we see here we got a wick, a long wick, kind of showing its hand. That exhaustion is happening. Price dips below the 1.5, comes right back up. Perfect touch to the 70.5. And so when we take this into account, so we've got a good entry point just off of a simple fib. The pullback factor is telling us the retracement is basically over. You can start looking for sells real soon now. And of course, if we were to, let's just say the 61.8 level with about a 30 pip stop to the nearest high, just to create a new lower low, is over 160 pips, which we see it easily does in just 4 days time, just 4 candlesticks, right? So And again, we're holding for a new lower low because we're trading with the trend. We're expecting a new lower low to be formed. And so, and even also, you can just match this up as it's reaching its, as its last down candle for this move. The pullback factor is reached basically 0. And so it's made its move again. And we are now going to wait for the indicator to tell us again it's, that this retracement is over. The trend is not over. So we're expecting, lower lows again. So we see a lower low here. Now this new low is formed. So we're now looking for good entry points to have this low taken out. So we have here, we see here, it does poke above it, but does price give us any sort of indication yet that it wants to go lower? Well, we could refine more into here, but there's no good, for me, there's no really good area to draw or range to draw a fib on. I wouldn't personally like this price action because this low, while it did take out here, it just is not that convincing enough. Whereas here, we have these 3 consecutive lower low candles kind of telling me price is wanting to move lower. But even if you got in here, let's say you just got stopped out, but now with this convincing candle, this huge candle up, the pullback factor now well over 2, almost at 2.3, 2.27 here. So extremely high in the range. So now we want to look for signs, right? And so here we have here a range I would draw a fib on. We've got this high and this wick. This is digging deep enough down that I would feel comfortable drawing a fib from here. You see price never closes above the 61.8, falls just short of 70.5. But if you just entered off the 61.8, 55 pip stop loss from the most recent high, just to create a new lower low that's over 3-to-1, again over 160 pips just to create a new lower low. And you can even, I'm a big fan of fib extensions and standard deviations, and look at how great it plays off of the first standard deviation of this range. And so that's another great way to aim for taking profit, which is almost 240 pips there. And so again, we've caught the retracement, we've caught the pullback in riding the trend down to create new lower lows. And so as we can, look at, once price is poking above the 1.5, we can see it soon after is creating a new lower low, right? We went over this one. We just went over this one. Look here. Price comes up here. And while on the daily chart, not a super clean entry that I can personally spot right away, but I guarantee if we went into the lower time frames, you could certainly catch a sell here. But look, as we see this candle lines up with this poking above it, what happens? It then starts to go lower, creating a new lower low right here. This one does poke above it. Doesn't quite create a new lower low, but an incredible move down. This one pokes well above it, creates a new lower low here. And as we can see, the trend looks like it might be starting to change, as it hasn't really been making any new lows. So seeing that, we now take into account the opposite, right? If we're expecting an uptrend, well, the pullback factor will start showing its hand with below, the 1.5 line. Or, excuse me, not below 1.5. It still stays above 1.5 to indicate the pullback. As long as you're trading with the trend, the pullback factor will tell you when retracements are basically at their peak when it's over the 1.5 line. And so you've got to gauge the trend. As we can see, it's starting to change here. But, that's one of the biggest things to keep in mind when trading is if you want to hold for a long time, you've got to hold through these retracements and pullbacks. And you want some insight into how far these retracements are going to go. Or that, if you don't want to hold for a long time, you just may want to take profit here at the bottom and sit as it retraces and find another entry. And in that case, this indicator will work great for that. So I hope this video was helpful. And until next time, best of luck trading.